In 1982, an Independence police officer came upon a woman and her children sleeping in their car. They had recently fled their home in search of safety from their abuser. There was nowhere for them to go. When Independence Mayor Barbara Potts heard of this encounter, she and a group of concerned citizens came together to solve this problem.
Shortly after I was elected, I decided to call a meeting. I brainstormed with my secretary and thought about what organizations would have an interest in this subject. I just sent letters to the leaders of all of these organizations.
There were, I think, somewhere around 50 people who came to that first meeting in May of '82.
And I said, women are fleeing for their lives. They're trying to protect their children. I couldn't live with myself if somebody was killed as a result of inactivity, so we're going ahead.
Interesting to me, I was the only one at the meeting who wasn't a representative of some organization. I was just there on my own behalf. So we had a very, I thought, very satisfactory meeting, and everyone agreed that the issue was an important one, and we needed to try to deal with it, and how did we go about getting started. And then the other thing that we needed that was the major item was a place for the shelter, a building.
What was then the RLDS Church World Headquarters donated the use of a house that they owned, they had been renting. We kept the location confidential for security's sake, but of course all the police department and everybody knew. We had a hotline phone number, so when we promoted that, 461-HOPE, and got that out so that women could call that number.
On January 1st, 1983, just 7 short months after the Task Force on Battered Women was created, Hope House opened its doors. Within 4 hours, the first client walked through the doors seeking shelter and safety.
But I had no idea how the magnitude of the need, and that we would outgrow that first house.
I knew that although we were now the third facility in the Kansas City area, and that altogether, I think, at that time, I would say maybe no more than about 100 beds that were available in the Kansas City metropolitan area, including Hope House, that the shelters were always full to overflowing and people were being turned away. I would say at that time, as far as I was concerned, each individual woman and child who was served justified our existence. We were providing, in some cases, I know, life-saving services.
During Hope House's first year of operation, 570 women and 240 children came into the shelter. When Hope House moved to a larger facility in 1987, 30 women and children could be housed at a time, which was double what the original shelter could house. In 1994, a campaign to raise funds for an even larger facility in Independence began, and in 1995, the current-day Independence campus was opened.
We had a strategic plan in place to look at expanding our services from Independence and really moving out into the other communities. But it was 1999 when 3 very tragic murders happened in the community of Lee Summit, and it really engaged the community, and they really started talking about what can we do differently. So when we first started, we were in just a small house in Independence. We moved to another house. Those are both gone through time. We moved to a beautiful 8-acre campus in Independence back in 1995. We've done some expansion on that campus as well. And then in 2002, we opened our Lee Summit campus. Our goal is to meet the needs of people in eastern Jackson County. We also have some outreach spaces in Blue Springs. We want to be able to, again, reach people where they are and not have to have them figure out how to get to us.
Victims are 75% more likely to be killed when they leave a relationship than when they stay. And that's because the abusive partner is losing their power and control. So we have to do a lot of safety planning with survivors. And so we offer shelters. Not everybody needs shelter, but we do have emergency crisis shelter. We do have the 24-hour hotline. We have court advocacy program. We work with 13 different law enforcement agencies, and we offer 24/7 call-out services. So we respond out with law enforcement to the scene or to the hospital. We assist with emergency orders of protection. We have started the lethality assessment process, and that is where when law enforcement responds to a call of a domestic violence, intimate in nature, they'll screen for high danger. And if someone is in high danger, they'll connect them with our hotline, and we will talk to them from there. We have a hospital program called Bridge Span, where we train doctors and nurses to screen for domestic violence. And if somebody screens in and wants an advocate to come out, we'll respond 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to the hospital. Or maybe they just need someone to talk to because they didn't realize there were programs out there. We have therapy services for survivors and their children. We have 3 contract attorneys who assist with divorce, child custody, and orders of protection. So we're really looking at gaps in systems and bridging those gaps so victims can get the best services available to them.
Our mission and our philosophy is to empower people who have lost their voice.
Survivor voices are why we're here. And without the echo, the voice is forgotten. And so that's our responsibility, is to see and hear what else is needed and then figure out how to make that look different for them. And really that's what's important, because they just need to know that there's somebody still in their corner.
The support for Hope House and domestic violence survivors has only flourished since 1983.
Oh, it's been huge. It's been enormous. It's almost without exception that when I mention Hope House, people know exactly what I'm talking about and who I'm talking about and what they do. And that means a lot to me, being part of something that has that big of a direct impact on our community.
I think the main impact is that we have 2 campuses, 2 beautiful campuses for victims and their families. That is a strong statement for Eastern Jackson County. They're really lovely facilities and provide women an opportunity to build their self-esteem, to work with people to find not only housing but also employment.
They're not just focused, I guess, on one need that a family might have. They're focused on multiple needs regardless of your economic situation or regardless of really the incident that you're going through. They're able to meet a variety of needs across the board.
I just think the name has got out there, and I think individuals know there's a place to go. I don't think anyone anticipates or thinks they're going to be a victim of domestic violence, right? And so I think just having the name out there and how it's made such an impact within the community, I don't want to call it a household name, but it's a name that people recognize. And so when you have a situation where you're in a place where you have nowhere to turn, the name now rings a bell.
Tonight, we celebrate the many lives Hope House has changed over the past 40 years. Without your generosity, we would not be here. Thank you for supporting Hope House and survivors.